Hey there, Internet. Our Felix Finch here, and welcome back for episode 16 of Underground Lucha Things, the Lucha Underground Retrospective, where I, as a person who somehow has never watched Lucha Underground, is going through this episode by episode to try to figure out what he's lost, what he failed to discover the first time around. But you know what? Every journey needs a guide, and with me is a wonderful friend and incredible wrestling fan from Midcard Mana. I've got the one, the only Angie FN. Angie, how are you doing?
I am good. Thank you again for having me on this wild and crazy adventure.
Oh no, I'd have no one else. It's so much fun. I mean, granted, yes, I had someone else at first, but now that I have you, I have no one else.
It's fine. It's fine.
Tea. And yeah, this is like I said, episode 16, Caged Animals. This is from February 25th, 2015. Another show that starts with some lucha action. Here we've got this is Drago, and this is a this is a rematch between the two, with lots of rope action from both, as well as some cool moves. But there are some absolutely wild dives from both of these guys. And honestly, it is hard to follow some of this action while taking notes because it just flows from one move to the other. And I was kind of
so quickly.
Yeah, and I was in shock because Aerostar gave Drago a sunset flip bomb to the outside, and he threw him back in and was able to get a pin on Aerostar for the win. And like I said, lots of action here. And you know what? How did you feel about the action in this match?
Like you said before, that match, very typical fast-paced match, definitely within the wheelhouse of both those guys, super talented in Lucha Libre. And like you mentioned before, it almost became difficult to keep up taking notes with watching it because there were things that were happening so quickly. And especially because this wasn't the first match between these two guys on Lucha Underground, it was definitely cool to see how they upped the ante, so to speak, and made it an even better match than before. And I know I've mentioned this, a technical thing about Lucha Underground, but I love the overhead camera. Didn't really feel it, didn't really use it as much as I think they could have in this match, but just in general, I think especially with the Lucha Libre style, that overhead camera just captures so many interesting angles and so many super cool moves that these guys pull off.
Now, I will say, because you've heard me talk about my annoyance with that camera, I do not like that angle.
Yes.
I will say it does look cool when moves are flowing in and out of each other. Like when it's showing fluid action, yes, that's a cool camera. But when it's like not fluid action, like if it's just like a submission hold or something, not a big fan. Like I said,
yeah, so it's definitely, it needs to be used effectively, or more effectively in some ways, I guess I should say. But I think that especially when you have that high-paced action, getting to see it from above, I don't know, it just, to me, that's another thing I miss about Lucha Underground, is getting that different actual literal perspective.
That is true. It is a literal difference in perspective. But you know what? We're going to get a lot more of this. If you liked that match, we're going to get more of that match because Dario comes out and he says that, he loved their match, but he hasn't had enough of their match. He's not satisfied yet. And they have one win each, so he's going to let them keep fighting each other until one of them gets 2 more wins. So basically first of 3 or best of 5, yeah. And the winner of that best of 5 series will get one of his famous unique opportunities. Which I have no clue what to expect for that. And I love that I have no clue what to expect for a lot of this. This is really making me I am enjoying this wrestling so much because I have no idea what to expect.
That's the best part, is when you can't call it. I know people usually get satisfaction like building brackets and stuff, and not to go too far, but the thing that I really liked about Lucha Underground from the first time I watched it to even now rewatching it and being like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what happened, is it's very difficult to tell who's gonna come out on top unless you're familiar with the talent going in. Then you can kind of maybe gauge. But because so much of this talent is, or was at the time, unfamiliar to most US audiences, it was a huge thrill because you never knew, maybe this guy was huge in Mexico and now here he's kind of building his way up. Maybe this guy conquered Mexico and now is coming and conquering the US. A lot of unknowns, really, I guess, upstarts, I guess you could say, building their brand, getting that talent out there, getting that recognition. And yeah, it's just a huge thrill. Absolutely. And like you mentioned before, and like we mentioned, you really never know.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm very curious how this is gonna go. Speaking of didn't know that we were gonna get a King Cuerno versus Mundo match this soon because they have a interesting little training montage. Like they don't give us, there's no voiceover of this. Like we've complained about voiceover before. This time they give us a video package with no voiceover whatsoever. It's just King Cuerno working out, I guess, and
then the dive.
Yeah, the dive, as it says, Cuerno versus Mundo tonight on Lucha Underground. We do get two big names come up next as Cage faces off with Prince Puma. And Prince Puma obviously doesn't have the belt, but he doesn't have the belt physically when he comes to the ring. He is still the champion. And as soon as he gets to the ring, Cage gets his hands on Puma and he starts tossing him around. I mean, Cage is clearly in control throughout this match. You able to use his clear strength advantage to turn Puma into a ragdoll. I mean, yeah, Puma's able to get off some offense. He hits a springboard shooting star to the outside. He hits a springboard 450 back into the ring. He misses a Phoenix splash and gets hit with a discus lariat and inverted pump handle slam for a 2 count. Has the stretch muffler being put on him. And Conan then comes out to kind of cheer on Puma, but Puma is caught in Weapon X, and Cage hits him with the Weapon X, and then instead of pinning him, just starts pummeling him. And Conan, getting sick of this, grabs the towel and throws it in. So Cage has
literally threw my towel for that. Yeah, he threw in the towel.
Yeah, and Cage
hurt me.
Cage gets a championship opportunity for the Lucha Underground Championship at some point. Again, it is a little weird dealing with this show because there is no pay-per-view to build up to, as far as I know. Like, as far as I know, this was just a weekly show, so that's what's happening there.
Like I said, it hurt me. Anytime somebody throws in the towel for somebody else, I'm just like, ugh. Because I know for me, I would just like, just beat me up. If I pass out, I pass out. You know what I mean? Like, I have never been in that situation, especially in a wrestling match. But I know I would be disappointed if someone decided to quit for me. So I can only imagine that Prince Puma at this point is devastated and feels like maybe Conan doesn't believe in him as much as he thought he did. And then Conan also, it leads into Conan talking to Puma, kind of giving him justification. You have to think about the war ahead. You might lose this battle, but you have to win this war, sort of frame of mind. He specifically talks about the art of war.
Yeah, when they're in the poorly lit locker room, he says the art of war is based on deception. Good job, Conan. You're reading up on your Sun Tzu. It's like, I'm sure that somehow the Aztecs secretly wrote it with however this universe works. But yeah, bringing in some legit knowledge there. If you know yourself but not your enemy, you will win half the battles. You know your enemy but not yourself, you'll lose half your battles. If you don't know your enemy or know yourself, you'll lose 100% of the battles. All that good stuff. And we jump to Sexy Star, who is in the office with Dario. And this conversation is taking place in Spanish, which is interesting because, it just seamlessly goes through it. It just throws up subtitles whenever they need to for the Spanish, which I think it's cool. It's nice that they're not trying to have them like speak English all the time. If it's more comfortable in Spanish, just do it. And there are subtitles. That's one of the benefits you get from a pre-produced show. And she's complaining to Dario that men keep jumping into her matches, and she wants to face the crew. She wants to get revenge. And Dario says that, you know what? How about I give you Big Rick, but not as a tag team? No, he's going to be your opponent because he also wants the crew. So whoever wins between the two of you gets the crew.
Him. And yeah, I really liked this sort of, I shouldn't say sort of, but this conversation between Sexy Star and Dario, you know, really furthered her character more. We already knew that she was the scrappy underdog, but now you see very much that she's definitely the tough woman that is tired. And I think she says literally that she's sick of men coming to her rescue, and she doesn't need to be rescued. She's there to prove that she can fight just as hard as the rest of them. And I loved that. You know, I know Sexy Star kind of has a bad rap now, but I loved that whole frame of mind. And I've always really been into that sort of perspective of being like, don't hold back because I'm a chicken. You don't think I can handle it. Because I will show you exactly what I can handle, and you will want me to hold back. And that's her whole sort of character and persona in Lucha Underground, and I am 100% for it. So I'm really excited for what's to come, because Sexy Star, I think, has one of my favorite character arcs, or as far as a female in wrestling.
Yeah, no, it's a really good utilization of intergender talent. And see, doing stuff like this, it doesn't call out the is like doing stuff like this, does more to normalize it than than saying that you're not going to call out that you're normalizing it on the commentary. Again, that's just a little tiny gripe. It's like Knuckles said, when you point out the exception, it takes away some of the significance. Next up, though, we get another feast of Pentagon being fed enhancement talent. This time with Vinnie Massaro, which is very cool. Northern California guy. I've worked him a few times. We're starting to get into people I've worked. Nice. Vinnie Massaro, he's done some gimmicks as the pizza guy, Vinnie Massaro. But I had no idea he worked Lucha Underground, so it's kind of cool. It's another short order win for Pentagon Jr., who then puts Vinnie through one of those most stupidly flimsy tables ever, as well as getting his arm broken by Penta, because, that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, afterward, he gets on his knees and, offers this up to his master, because, this match was for his master. Whoever that master is. I don't think it's the master from Doctor Who. But, they're leaving us clues. So maybe they're leaving us clues. They're pulling us along. They're trying to feed us into this mystery. It's like to bait us. Maybe he's a master baiter. Who knows? That was a long way to go for that joke. I know, but I do not apologize.
Yeah, it's definitely this, or I guess I should say, the current string of victories that Penta has kind of been putting him back on the track of being more of the badass that we know him as today. Pentagon Jr., Cero Miedo, which everybody knows if you're a wrestling fan. My grandpa even knows that. He's got a Pentagon Jr. shirt that I bought from Pentagon Jr. himself from his merch table. So it's really cool to see where he was kind of at the beginning, where he sort of seemed like the sidekick, for lack of a better word, to Chavo Guerrero, who is the more known name, especially in the United States, to now slowly, he has a master, right? But we haven't seen this master yet. So as of right now, all we're seeing is Pentagon Jr. coming in and destroying people like the monster he is.
For sure. And next up, though, we've got our main event, which is King Cuerno versus Johnny Mundo. And it looks like Mundo's back to full health with some early dives, but Cuerno still targets the knee to get that advantage back. And the match continues throughout the temple, some wild moments throughout. But they end up in a double countout. Which
this is Cuerno's second double countout, by the way.
I did not.
Lucha Underground history.
I didn't take that note, so yeah, his second double countout because he had one with Drago when they both went through the table. But this doesn't stop the match; they keep fighting on the outside. There is a really impressive dive from Johnny Mundo where he's on one side of the ring, jumps through the corner turnbuckle to Cuerno, which again, that is a risky jump. It was kind of awesome. They fight up the stairs, going through the crowd, and they get to the top balcony, and they fight into a caged-off storage area, which is kind of funny because downstairs they've got a bunch of fans looking around the monitor as well. And I've got to give a shout-out to, I don't know if you're familiar with Sean Scoville. He does...
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he does hot tub interviews, and you hear Vampiro at the end of it, because Sean Scoville's right behind him. I'm going to actually... make sure I highlight him here. And Sean Scoville's right behind him. He's like, it's the hot tub guy. And I thought it was just so cool to see a friend there. And but that's not how we ended. I thought, oh, great. We're ending with a shout out to one of my friends. Not a wrestling dude, but one of the best dudes in he's like one of the most chill dudes because he looks like, if you looked at him, he'd look like what you would think of as a wrestling fan probably, but... You didn't have to laugh that hard.
That was just I never really thought of that because I don't have a good perception, I think, of what a stereotypical wrestling fan would look like because everything in Hawaii is so different from the mainland. So, like, to me, the stereotypical wrestling fan is like a kind of medium height hoppa dude because that's all the wrestling fans here.
Gotcha. All right, so. Fair enough. But yeah, that's not how our show ends though. The show ends with some interesting like in and out fades in and out of a black car driving in over a green filter for some reason, and there's like this weird green matrix filter, and the trunk opens up and Black Lotus is tied up in there. I think it's Black Lotus tied up in there. You hear a voice say, "What do you know about Lucha Libre?" And then come with me as they cut to some masked figure. I don't know who it is. I can't tell that I don't think we've seen that masked figure yet. But I guess Black Lotus is going to receive some secret magic ninja training. I have no idea what's going on, but that's how it ends with the "come with me." Not if you want to live, just come with me.
Oh, the implication is if you want to live and know Lucha Libre, so...
Yeah, also, we don't know if she knows anything about Lucha Libre. That's kind of weird.
I like the meaningful sip of tea you took there. It was good.
I just needed some tea. My mouth is drying up. But, Angie... what do you think of this episode?
Like I always say, it's hard. I'm hard pressed to find an episode I don't enjoy or wrestling that I don't enjoy. I watch all kinds of wrestling, and I try and find fun in all of it. And this was no exception. I think, again, similar to last episode, the storytelling is definitely here. Building more towards the feuds of Aerostar and Drago with the best of 5 tournament that they're going to have to go through with each other. Cage versus Puma with Conan coming in and throwing in the towel, which is something that, like I mentioned before, was a big thing for me. That would be something that I would be very upset by if my coach, my mentor, my teacher decided that they didn't think I was good enough to handle it and threw in the towel, and then gave me stories about how you've got to know This isn't just a single battle. You've got to prepare Art of War stuff. I was a Chinese history major, man. Don't you tell me about the Art of War. But
Is that your
that's
major?
just me. Yeah, I was so history, specifically focused in Chinese history. Although I did focus more on 20th century Chinese history. So from 1921 to 1976 was the time frame of my senior thesis, as the Mao years, as I called them.
Oh, okay.
But again, not to drift too far away from Lucha Underground, but again, also the sexy star storyline going on. I love, as a chick that, usually hangs with dudes. I got my replica IC belt from making a dude tap out, like, so I'm 100% behind the whole frame of mind of, I don't need a dude to fight my battles. I can do it. And same with connecting back to last episode with Evilise saying that Son of Havoc can't handle his battles, so she'll fight for him. Definitely promoting the sort of equality or the legitimacy, I think, of intergender wrestling. And I know they called it out, like how you mentioned on commentary. They kind of were like, "Oh, we're normalizing intergender wrestling," sort of like a kind of pat on the back-ish kind of thing. But I'm still 100% behind it. As like I said, as a girl who, if I were in a wrestling promotion, if I somehow miraculously made it to the WWE, I mean, yeah, the women's titles are cool, but I want the IC belt. I want the United States belt. I want the Cruiserweight Championship. Actually, that's the one I want the most. Interesting, because the current Cruiserweight champion in NXT, that is in NXT, is or was known as King Cuerno. He is now unmasked and is Santos Escobar. So going back again, dream feud.
Yeah, and like I said, with this episode, I will say off the bat something I don't like. There's not a lot I don't like. Double countouts, I'm not a fan of. It's like not a fan of that. I did love Aerostar versus Drago, and I do look forward to seeing more of them. And Cage versus Prince Puma, again, whatever story beats they're setting up, I'm here for, because that's gonna be an interesting thing. The sexy star taking on Big Rick, that is gonna be very interesting. Because I'm having trouble like kind of imagining how that match even goes in my head right now, and we need to know why like Pentagon Jr. keeps getting fed jobbers. Like why is he on an enhancement talent diet right now? I don't know. But you know what I do know? I do know that I enjoy this. I do know that that it's time to tell people where they can find you, Angie.
All right, so I am part of a couple of shows based here in Hawaii. Felix mentioned the first one in my introduction. Thank you for the shout out, my dude. It is Mid Card Mana. So that is our wrestling show based on the Big Island, which is the island that me and my tag team partner Sam Keller, the wrestling connoisseur, are on. I do unboxing videos, we do prediction videos, and we talk a little bit more about general broad themes in wrestling. We kind of do some recaps here and there. The second show is Valley Isle Collective's Ringside, which is a little bit goofier, a little bit more gimmicky as far as shows. We talk more about our favorites of certain things. If we had to job to somebody, who would it be? Just kind of, a little bit more lighthearted, fun stuff, especially with everything going on right now. I know times are very serious, but sometimes it's nice to have that little break where you can take a breather and kind of maybe forget about some of the stuff that was weighing on you. So
you can find me here, youtube.com/Frisco Flame if you're watching the video, or if you're listening to any of the audio podcasts, then just come on over. Come check us out on video, youtube.com/Frisco Flame. And honestly, I'm trying to get to 1,000. That way I can start doing some more things from my cool little portable computer here. But you know what? You can also go to my Etsy shop, etsy.com/shop/FriscoFlame. Check it out. I've got pins, including this Underground Lucha Things pin here, similar but legally distinct. And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Frisco Flame or R Felix Finch. Find me on Facebook as R Felix Finch or Frisco Flame. And you know what, people? Just say hi, just chat. What's the worst that can happen from a chat? Anyway, for Angie, for myself, stay safe out there. We will see you here next week on Underground Lucha Things.